I am Major Jason Wenzel, and I will be your narrator for today's event. Family members and friends, please feel free to take photos during the ceremony at any time. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the playing of ruffles and flourishes and the presentation of the colors. Colonel Donnelly asks that we then join in singing the National Anthem, followed by an invocation given by Chaplain Scott Hofstall.
March. Colors. 10, hut. Reset. On. Step.
Chaplain Hofstall will now give the invocation.
Let us bow our heads in a word of prayer. Almighty God, it has been our great privilege and pleasure to serve with Colonel Peter Donnelly. You have abundantly blessed him with a terrific sense of humor and above all a brave warrior spirit. And through his life and work, you've blessed us. And so it is with thankful hearts that we lift him, spouse Nina, parents John and Helen, Brother John, Sister Dawn, Aunts Teresa and Jane, cousins Diane, Dominic, and Michelle, along with nieces and nephews to your care. Gracious Father, for all the lives that the Donnellys have touched, and they've certainly touched ours, we give you thanks. May their future path be smooth, may all burdens be light, and may they go in peace with your hand of grace and blessing upon them. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Thank you, Chaplain Ostall, for their heartfelt prayer for the Donnelly family. At this time, we'd like to recognize our distinguished guests. The Inspector General, Air Combat Command, Brigadier General John Doucette and his wife, Jeanette. The Deputy Commanding General Air, DC National Guard, Brigadier General Andrew Donnelly and his wife, Shelley. The Surgeon General, Air Combat Command, Brigadier General Sean Murphy. We'd also like to welcome the directors, commanders, chiefs, and the many co-workers and airmen in attendance today. Most importantly, we are honored to have in attendance Colonel Donnelly's family, his wife Nina, his mother and father, Helen and John, his sister Dawn, his aunts Teresa and Jane, his cousins Diane, Michelle, and Dominic, his nephews Ryan and Sean, and his niece Lauren. Colonel Donnelly would also like to extend a special thanks to all those who traveled to be here today. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce our presiding official, Brigadier General Retired Michael Longoria.
Okay, we're gonna have a little test. Can you hear me? Everybody can hear me? All right, very good, because I actually can't see and I didn't know if I was on mute or not, so apparently I'm not. General Mrs. Doucette, General Mrs. Donnelly, and General Murphy, thank you for being here, and thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your support, Pete and Nina. It is really an honor to be here and to be in your presence. To all of this great Air Combat Command staff, and I wish I could stand here and name each and every one of you, but it's a fantastic, it's one of the best MAGCOMs in the United States Air Force, and it's a fantastic group of people that we have here. Thank you for coming. It really is an honor. Now, I will say, I think we do have our Colonel Matt Foley and Chief Hurst. Are they interconnected with us at this point? We think. They are currently deployed. And before I go too much further, I just want to say for you that are in the total force, that's active, Guard, Reserve, all of our civilian component that are engaged in combat now and have been for a long time. I just want to say, from an American citizen, thank you. This is what happens when you retire. You know, when you retire, you can actually stand up and say a lot of things because, you know, what are they going to do to you? You know, of course, I have the IG here, so I have to be a little careful. But I can say what is on the minds of most Americans, and I can guarantee you, even though the polls actually prove this out, that even though this country is a little bit war-weary, they are steadfastly behind our American soldiers, our Marines, our sailors, our Coast Guardmen, and especially the great airmen in the United States Air Force. So again, thank you for what you're doing. Appreciate it. To family, boy, thank you for traveling all this way. And trust me when I say, I know people don't think New Jersey is really that far, Pennsylvania is that far, but if you have to travel on the Jersey Turnpike, That's a long way to travel, even if you're going from exit 6 to exit 3, which I used to do a lot. But thank you for being here. Now, I could talk a long time. We could have a whole separate ceremony on just Nina Donnelly alone. Trust me on this. Because, don't worry, don't get scared. Now, we've been through this. We talked about this.
Stick to the script.
I mean, Nina is one of those ladies that, no kidding, could be running a marathon, simultaneously planning a presidential visit, and doing a Six Sigma approach to help an organization manage their executive leadership better, all simultaneously, and probably run under 3 hours or something like that for the marathon. Thank you for being here, and we're not done with you. We're going to talk about you just a little bit later. But what a great team. John and Helen, now the last time I think we saw each other was a little bit traumatic. It was in a hospital. Thank you for being here. This is not going to be that traumatic. Hopefully I don't, stumble over my words so much, but because the last time I saw John and Helen, Pete was in the hospital. And we're going to talk about the heart of a warrior, and I'm just going to tell you that I know when I tell all these stories about Pete, you're going to think, now he said he was a really smart guy, but you just told me, because the last time I saw John and Helen, now I'm not a doctor, sir, I'm not a doctor, but I have stayed at Air Force Inns before, so I'm not going to be very technical with this, but last time I saw you, they had just taken Pete, whatever this is, cracked it open, took the heart out, did some things with it, put it back in, sewed him back up. See, this is very technical. You gotta stay with me. Sewed him back up. Now, that would be traumatic in itself. But 4 days later, he was back at the 18th ASOG, our airborne group, and he was getting back on parachute jump status.
I did not know that.
Okay. I can't promise a lot, but I can promise you it's not going to be that traumatic here. We're going to try to have a good time. But thank you for being here. And for all of the family, thank you for traveling. Now I'm going to tell some stories about your brother, cousin, nephew, niece, niece. I'm going to tell some stories, and you can use them against Pete, because we're going to talk about some stories. No kidding. But to everybody that's here, thank you so much for honoring Pete and Nina today. And I just couldn't help myself because, we have a lot of friends out here. And I think it's true that Pete has people that are here from the entirety of his life. But absolutely family, no doubt about that. But also at Lebanon Valley College. Is that anybody from? Okay, raise your hand. All right. If I got this right, Flying Dutchman, did I get that? All right. Now, Pete, when he was at Lebanon Valley College, was a unique student. Yes, he was a good student. I don't want to tell you all the good stuff, though. Yes, he was a good student. He majored in physics and engineering. I don't want to talk about how smart Pete is. I don't really want to go there. But what's unique is that not only did he major in physics and engineering and finish that within about 3 years, but he was also, no kidding, NCAA football player. Yes. Now, I know that's somewhat unique to say NCAA football player and physics major all in the same. Now, I love football players, don't get me wrong. But normally, I think you don't say football player and physics in the same I don't think so. Unless you're talking about one of the service academies or something like that, but that's what Pete did. And Pete did it so well that I think the combined total of wins over 4 years at Lebanon Valley was 3, 4? Okay. Now, this only proves one point, that you shouldn't let statistics drive how you think about someone. That's just, it's just, you know, because, you know. Now, we took him from Lebanon Valley. He decided to come in the United States Air Force, and so in 1984, he would go to OTS and graduate. And no kidding, would really and truly put the flying part in the Flying Dutchman of Lebanon Valley College. Because I think that's the mascot, right? Lebanon, the Flying Dutchman. And Pete would go on to really and truly become, and I'm going to get this now, a true bomber guy. But before he did that, he had to first go to Mather, undergraduate navigator training, and then advanced training, and then he had to go to CCTS and learn about the bombing business. And that's where we did that, at Castle. Now, for all of you young officers, exactly the Air Force plan for you is really quite simple. We want you to come in the United States Air Force. And really what we want you to do first, now we're going to ask you to do a lot of things, but what we want you to do first is be a weapon system expert. That's really what we want you to do. And we want you to be better than anybody else at your particular weapon system. And that, in fact, is what Pete did. In his aviation flying career, that's exactly the model that he followed. And he would then go from Castle to Fairchild. And he would stay at Fairchild Air Force Base for 8 years. And from that point, he would go from a second lieutenant to a captain, from a bachelor's degree to a master's degree, 2,500 flying hours. He would go from a basic navigator to an instructor, to stand eval, to a radar navigator, to instructor radar navigator, and to the senior stand eval on the #1 crew in the entire 92nd Wing, Bomb Wing, all of the B-52 crews, the #1 instructor radar nav that the wing had. Now, that is a lot to do in 8 years. But when I was looking at his record and I talked to him, and you know, I'm non-rated, so you gotta help me a little bit because I'm a little aviation deficiency in this. But when I was studying this particular question, I went, wow, that's a lot to do. That's a lot of achievement in that period of a time. And so I looked at 1 week in particular. In one of those weeks, let me just give you some numbers. 3 missions in a week. You go, well, not a big deal. 3 missions, that's not a big deal. But they were global power missions. The sortie length was, for one of them, 27 hours. For another one, 29 hours. For another one, 31 hours. Okay, now, let me explain because I'm not ready to. That means they were flying in the B-52 for 27 hours. 6 to 7 air refuelings in that mission. And basically they would take off out of Fairchild, fly thousands of miles west, do some stuff, fly thousands of miles back. Now you go, see, if you're a Delta pilot now or a United pilot, you go, hey, big deal. You know, I fly across the pond all the time. That's true, but when you fly from Atlanta to Paris, you stay overnight in Paris, you know, see the Champs-Élysées, you know, get to eat a couple of places, you know, get your crew rest appropriately, and then you come back. Okay, and that's great. I love you for doing it, but that's different than flying 27 hours nonstop. Okay, now, the 27 hours, the 29 hours, and the 31 hours, that was all within one single week. And I would call that, when I studied Pete's background, I went, you got to be kidding me. That's a lot of flying. That's logging 87 flying. I mean, I got a lot of great American pilots in here. How many times have you logged 87 hours in a single week? Anyone, go ahead, raise your hand. Not many. To me, being a non-rated puke that I am, I go, wow, that is fantastic. But it's not just the flying that was important, it's what they did. And you know, for my bomber community out there, they carried a lot of Mark 82s. I'm not going to specifically tell you how many, but let's just say it was a bunch. A bunch is more than a lot. Actually, it was a bunch and a bunch and a bunch more. And that's part of what they dropped when they would go do these missions. And Pete was on the #1 crew. In the wing, the number one crew in the wing. Now, you might say, well, that's enough. No, for this particular crew, they would go on to win the Fairchild Trophy in the Strategic Air Command, and that's a big deal. The #1 bomb crew, the #1 bomb crew in the entire Strategic Air Command. It's a big deal. Now, don't get confused because it was Fairchild Air Force Base. Now, in the Air Force, because we love General Muir S. Fairchild, he was a great American aviator, and so we named an Air Force base after him. We've named all kinds of buildings after him in the United States Air Force, and we named this particular trophy for the #1 bomb crew in Strategic Air Command, the Fairchild Trophy. So, I would say that's a long way from Lebanon Valley College, even though we love the Flying Dutchman, and I think they've won a couple of games this year. Now, you can actually end your career on that. You could say, okay, I'm kind of done. I mean, you could say, I've done it all in Strategic Air Command, and what more could you want? You move to the head of the table. But that was just one career for Pete. And we'll put that aside just for a minute. So all of you that came from Fairchild or that know Pete at Fairchild or Mather or Castle, thank you for coming. And I know you can tell more stories about this, but thank you for your service and thank you for giving us Pete. Because then we would take Pete and we'd put him in a whole different situation. We'd send him to the United States Air Force Academy. And he would be an AOC. And I think we even have some Air Force Academy people here. Any former cadets at the Air Force Academy? There you go. Now, all right, they look senior now, but trust me, when they were cadets, they were a lot different. Bigger challenges. And so Pete would start off being an AOC, and he would lead these young cadets into trying to get their education, trying to learn how to be an officer, try to learn all of the things that we're trying to teach cadets, and he would do that. He would move from there to be the ADO of our NAV squadron that we have, where we're training cadets to be navigators. Not only that, then we would take him and we would bring him into the Inspector General business and made him the Deputy IG at the Air Force Academy. Now, I love the Air Force Academy. I'm a graduate of the Air Force Academy. But I can tell you, as much as I love it, sometimes we in the Air Force, we don't do everything perfectly. We don't do everything right. The reason I love the Air Force is because we stand up to it and we say, hey, we made a mistake. Pete was there in that time when we had made some mistakes. And we tried to fix them. And we worked really hard at trying to fix them. And Pete led that effort. But first, before you can fix these problems, you have to recognize that you have them. And that's why you need a Pete Donnelly. Now, that in itself, educating young cadets like being a professor in a college. That alone could be another career as an educator. But that wasn't good enough, because we would take Pete from the United States Air Force Academy and we'd put him into, we'd gotten rid of Strategic Air Command. We'd migrated those missions and all those great people, resources, to Air Combat Command. And we needed people with that bomber expertise to come to Air Combat Command and run our contingency crisis action. And that's why we pulled Pete to do that. But that's not good enough. That's not good enough. Because at 9/11, our country had a requirement to send great airmen to combat once again. Now, mind you that the United States Air Force had been in combat before 9/11 for all of the years preceding and interceding between Desert Storm and anything that we did in Afghanistan and Iraq. The United States Air Force was at combat, constantly flying missions, daily missions, thousands and thousands of crews, thousands of hours, logging in combat, even before 9/11. But at 9/11, it was particularly unique, because we were going to introduce ground forces, and we would need Pete for that. We would need him for that. Now, there are some great American heroes right here in this room, and I'm going to embarrass some of them, because I cannot talk about Pete Donnelly without talking about battlefield airmen in the United States Air Force. I can't do it. And a lot of them are here. So I can't talk about him without talking about them. At 9/11, our special forces went to combat in Afghanistan. What we were trying to do was kill the Taliban and protect the Northern Alliance. And we did that with the 5th Special Forces Group. And they are great Americans. And Tim Stamey and Art Boyer and I had been there before 9/11 and had basically said, you know, you really need airmen integrated with this business. And even after we started combat operations, I went to see General John Mulholland, who was the commander of the 5th Special Forces Group at that time, and I said, you need airmen here. He says, well, I have special ops airmen, and I love them. And he did. He had some great special ops airmen. You had combat controllers, you had other special types, you had pararescue, and you had some great AC-130 pilots, and you had some great MC-130 pilots, and they are great soft airmen. I love them to pieces. I said, but you need more airmen. You need fighter people and bomber people that drop bombs for a living that can help you. The conversation went, Mike, I don't need them. I go, well, yeah, you do. Mike, I don't need them. Yeah, you do. Mike, I don't need them. Yeah, you do. So I left. I called Shaq Beauchene. I'm not going to let him get away. He's sitting right there in a nice tie and white shirt, you know. I said, hey, Shaq, guess what? I know you're a squadron commander. I know you got a lot of great airmen, but get on an airplane immediately and go to the country of Afghanistan. It's kind of like the air tasking order. You know, get on your jet, fly to the country of Afghanistan, and wait to be told what to do. And he did. Within 2 days, General Mulholland calls me and goes, and this is the guy who says, I don't want him. And he says, you will never get Shaq Beauchene back again. And I will tell you this, because I have more stories, is that from that time forward, the necessity for battlefield airmen, the necessity to have airmen on the ground controlling airstrikes in the most precise way possible is now, I will tell you, after decades of war, Now, when they talk about combat operations, all of these retired 4-star generals that are in the Army, admirals that are in the Navy, Marines, when they talk about forward air controllers, the reason they talk about the necessity for forward air controllers, even in a ground-directed interdiction campaign, not just close air support, but the reason they talk about these people is because of the success of most of you that are in this room. That's a big deal. And now, after I sent Shaq, see, I didn't know Pete Donnelly. I didn't know who Pete Donnelly was. Didn't have a clue. Shaq said, hey, I know you need somebody. I'm going to send you this guy. And it kind of went like this. I don't need him. Shaq said, yeah, you do. No, I don't need him. Yeah, you do. I don't need him. Yes, you do. And because I have this perfect, command relationship with all my subordinate commanders, he did exactly what I told him not to do. Okay. And he sent me Pete Donnelly. And wow. Best thing that's ever happened to me. Personally. Individually. No kidding. Now, on his bio, if you look at his bio, you go, wow. He was at the 10th Mountain Division, 20th ASOS, working for Colonel Beauchesne, that he'd have all kind of jobs and responsibilities. That's the kind of the peacetime jobs and responsibilities, but the 20th ASOS was not in peacetime. They were in combat. And so all of the other jobs that aren't listed in the bio, I had given to Pete, so I know what they are. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. But what I want you to know is that you've got great American airmen out here, and I don't mind pointing them out. You've got Tim Stamey. Where is he? Tim Stamey. There you go. Steve Aki. Where? Okay, there you go. And I'm just going to give you some examples of some battlefield airmen. I'm going to give you examples, and it will tell you, and it will describe Pete's career better than I could script this. I can't script, because you can't, some of this you just can't make up. Real life is more exciting, actually, than what you think. I've never met a woman in the Air Force yet that wasn't professional, a combat warrior just like all the rest, could lead, whether flying a fighter or a bomber or be with our young TACP. I've never met a woman yet that didn't absolutely shine with their brilliance. That's a fact. And the women in the Air Force have proven that over and over again. Now, I don't mind embarrassing, because I love to do this. Where's Deanna Violet? There she is right there. These are one of our warriors right here. And guess what? Guess where she came from? 10th Mountain Division, 20th ASOS, Shaq Beauchesne, and Pete Donnelly. That's right. Yes, and we'll give her credit a little bit for flying Strike Eagles for many, many years. Okay. Your United States Air Force, made up of great men and women, have taken great care of their country. I guarantee you that. It's happened. And Pete Donnelly has been at the absolute forefront of doing that. And so, yes, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. Now, one of my Special Forces guys gave me a saber one time, and on it had a quote from Teddy Roosevelt. And it basically went like this. I'm not going to quote it verbatim, but it's going to, The greatest senior executive is someone who can pick great people and then have the restraint to not meddle with them while they are doing great things. Wow. Pick great people. Pick great people and let them do great things. Now, that is a testament to the United States Air Force. It is a testament to the Donnelly family. It is a testament to this great team in Pete and Nina, because Nina has been there throughout this entire 8 combat deployments that Pete's gone. And in this air ground, I'll just give you a little data. Starts off as a major. We're now retiring him as a colonel. Flight command, squadron command, group command, all in combat. And I might have the number wrong. I don't know. I think we're at 8, 9 Bronze Stars at this point. 9. 9 Bronze Stars later. Need I say any more? That's why we're here honoring Pete Donnelly. It is an honor and a privilege for me to stand in front of you, and I'm sorry for taking so long, but you bet I love Pete Donnelly. I salute you, young man. Cool. I think it's time to let's make this happen.
Sir.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand. Attention to orders. To all who shall see these presents, greeting. This is to certify that the President of the United States of America, authorized by Act of Congress 20 July 1942, has awarded the Legion of Merit to Colonel Peter A. Donnelly. Colonel Peter A. Donnelly distinguished himself by exceptionally meritorious conduct in the performance of outstanding service to the United States as Deputy Inspector General, Headquarters Air Combat Command, Joint Base Langley, Eustis, Virginia, from 15 July 2011 to 1 December 2014. During this period, the exemplary abilities and devotion to duty of Colonel Donnelly directly improved mission effectiveness for the 70 total force wings and over 100,000 personnel in Air Combat Command. As Deputy Inspector General, Colonel Donnelly led the command through the largest Air Force inspection system change in 66 years, teaming with units to smoothly transition from a major command-centric to a wing-centric inspection system while preserving Air Combat Command's combat assessment capability. Stepping up as Inspector General, he initiated and led a complex unit reorganization by realigning purpose and processes to adapt to the new evolving inspection system. He regularly briefed the commander, ensuring his intent to maintain an Air Combat Command focus was met. He engaged directly with Air Combat Command directors, wing commanders, and numbered Air Force and center commanders to ensure the new inspection system goals were understood and that the Air Force Inspector General received the necessary feedback to fully validate unit effectiveness. Additionally, he organized and led the command's coordination and input to the Air Force Inspection System Integration Tiger Team, combining his superior leadership with impeccable strategic planning and program management skills. Leading several inspections, Colonel Donnelly educated, motivated, and provided Commander Air Combat Command an independent evaluation of the readiness and compliance of units throughout the command. The singularly distinctive accomplishments of Colonel Donnelly culminate a distinguished career in the service of the country and reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. Brigadier General Longoria will now officially retire Colonel Donnelly. Attention to orders. Department of the Air Force Special Order Number Alpha Lima 000992, Colonel Peter A. Donnelly, effective 30 November 2014. You are relieved from active duty and retired effective 1 December 2014 per Air Force Instruction 36-3203 in the grade of Colonel. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. We will now make several presentations to Colonel Donnelly and his family. Brigadier General Longoria will now present their Certificate of Retirement. Certificate of Retirement from the Armed Forces of the United States of America. To all who shall see these presents, greeting. This is to certify that Colonel Peter A. Donnelly, having served faithfully and honorably, was retired from the United States Air Force on the first day of December 2014. Signed, General Gilmary M. Hostage III, Commander, Air Combat Command, and General Mark A. Welsh, Chief of Staff, United States Air Force. Brigadier General Longoria will now present a certificate of appreciation from the President of the United States. The certificate reads, I extend to you my personal thanks and the sincere appreciation of a grateful nation for your contribution of honorable service to our country. You have helped maintain the security of the nation during a critical time in its history with a devotion of duty and a spirit of sacrifice in keeping with the proud traditions of military service. Your commitment and dedication have been an inspiration for those who will follow in your footsteps and for all Americans who join me today in saluting you for a job extremely well done. My best wishes to you for happiness and success in the future. Signed, Barack Obama, Commander-in-Chief. Colonel Donnelly also received letters of appreciation from former presidents of the United States, including President William Clinton, President George Bush, and President Jimmy Carter. Mrs. Donnelly, will you please come forward? Brigadier General Longoria will now present the Certificate of Appreciation for Nina Donnelly from the Chief of Staff and the Commander of Air Combat Command that reads, in grateful appreciation, the United States Air Force presents this certificate of recognition to Nina Donnelly for the commitment and numerous contributions that made positive impacts to the nation's defense. Thank you for the support which gave strength and purpose to your spouse's service. Signed, General Gilmary M. Hostage III, Commander, Air Combat Command, and General Mark A. Welsh, Chief of Staff, United States Air Force. Thank you, Brigadier General Longoria. Please be seated. At this time, Mrs. Donnelly will have the honor of presenting her husband with the Air Force Retirement Pin. This pin represents the contributions of over 30 years of service to our country. It's not gaudy because one serves not for recognition. A casual observer may not even notice it, but those with a keen eye will see the holidays spent alone on distant continents, winning the Cold War, and the endless hours spent ensuring the readiness of our military might, honing the skills and professionalism of fellow comrades in arms. Colonel Donnelly, when that keen-eyed person gives a knowing nod, feel as good about your choice to serve as we feel about you having served. Nina, Colonel Donnelly has a military spouse medal that he would like to present to you. It reads as follows. The spouse does not wear a uniform, yet they serve their country. They do not acquire nor wear ribbons showing where they have been, yet they go. They did not ask for the duty they perform, yet they unwaveringly serve to their best ability. They serve, yet are not honored with trinkets or pieces of cloth showing their service. The burning candle signifies the lonely nights you have spent and that you have kept the home fires burning. A symbol with no beginning and no end, the ring around the candle flame symbolizes the undying flame of love for your spouse. The image of a rose is for the unwavering devotion you have shown for your spouse and their service to their country. This medal is gratefully given to those that do not ask, those that stay on the home front so that their spouse can serve, for they also proudly serve their country. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated as the Honor Guard comes forward for a special flag folding ceremony. For more than 200 years, the American flag has been the symbol of our nation's unity, as well as a source of pride and inspiration for millions of citizens. Born on June 14, 1777, the Second Continental Congress determined that the flag of the United States be 13 stripes, alternating between 7 red and 6 white, and that the Union be 13 stars, white in a blue field representing a new constellation. Between 1777 and 1960, the shape and design of the flag evolved into the flag presented before you today. The colors of the flag are symbolic as well. Correction, the 13 horizontal stripes represent the original 13 colonies, while the stars represent the 50 states of the Union. The colors of the flag are symbolic as well. Red symbolizes hardiness and valor, white signifies purity and innocence, and blue symbolizes vigilance, perseverance, and justice. Traditionally a symbol of liberty, the American flag has carried the message of freedom and inspired Americans both at home and abroad. In 1814, Francis Scott Key was so moved at seeing the stars and stripes waving after the British shelling of Baltimore's Fort McHenry that he wrote the words to the Star-Spangled Banner. In 1892, the flag inspired Francis Bellamy to write the Pledge of Allegiance, our most famous flag salute and patriotic oath. In July 1969, the American flag was flown in space when Neil Armstrong planted on the surface of the moon. Today, our flag flies on constellations of Air Force satellites that circle our globe, and on the fin flash of our aircraft in harm's way in every corner of the world. Indeed, it flies in the heart of every American who serves our great nation. The sun never sets on our U.S. Air Force, nor on the flag we so proudly cherish. Since 1776, no generation of Americans has been spared the responsibility of defending freedom. Today's airmen remain committed to preserving the freedom that others won for us for generations to come. By displaying the flag and giving it a distinctive fold, we show respect to the flag and express our gratitude to those individuals who fought and continue to fight for freedom at home and abroad. Since the dawn of the 20th century, airmen have proudly flown the flag in every major conflict on lands and skies around the world. It is their responsibility, our responsibility, to continue to protect and preserve the rights, privileges, and freedoms that we as Americans enjoy today. The United States flag represents who we are. It stands for the freedom we all share and the pride and patriotism we feel for our country. We cherish in its legacy as a beacon of hope to one and all. Long may it wave. Thank you, Honor Guard. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure and distinct honor to introduce Colonel Peter A. Donnelly, United States Air Force, retired.
Okay, how's everybody holding up? Good. Just a reminder, the bar is open. It's not insulting to get up and go get yourself a drink. I might do that while I'm talking. But thanks, first of all, sir. Thank you. As you always do, you've elevated the eloquence of our ceremony, and personally, thank you. I'll talk more about you in a minute. Thanks to everyone, first of all, who came and traveled. It's humbling, the friendship, the effort, etc. So before I go much further, I have to explain something. General, actually, I looked at the internet, and there's a lot of wagering going on about whether or not I'm going to cry. So we have to define what is crying. And there's General Longoria wrote a thesis paper on when it's okay for men to cry. And I use that as a guideline, and if you hadn't read the rules beforehand, you might have put some money in the wrong place, because if you talk about your family, if you talk about your wife, you talk about fallen comrades, you talk about important things, and you cry, that's not crying. So I think I'm good. Yeah. Shaq was betting heavy, and he didn't read the fine print. I heard and I hear they say that gratitude equals happiness, and if that's true, I'm very happy. Very happy, because I'm very grateful. 100% positive experience in the United States Air Force. I'm very grateful for the many wonderful opportunities I had. And I'm going to do a little bit of, only because it's really great and fun to talk about great people, I'm kind of going to do a little bit of what General Longoria did. And I thought about this moment, maybe not ever knowing that I was going to make it to retirement, but thinking about when I would separate the Air Force. And I thought about it a long time ago. First time I was running in Spokane, I think it was about 8 or 9 years into my career. And maybe I was having a bad day, but I started thinking about when I would leave, what I would say. So 21 years later, when I started working on my speech this morning, and I'm not joking, I said I've been thinking about it for a long time, but I've been working on it since this morning. It's really about the people that I got the opportunity to know. So starting at the beginning, my great friends from friends. They qualify as a pass. From Lebanon Valley College, Rob and Dave, and Dave's wife Mary. Thanks for being here. Other than, I believe, my family, I've known you guys the longest. And then I decided to join the Air Force when I was in college, and it was because my parents gave me such a No, thank you. Thank you. Well, this would imply I was crying. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. But anyway, my parents gave me a wonderful life, and I had a great childhood, so I wanted to pay back. So I joined the Air Force, went to NAV school, and the best part of NAV school was I met lifelong friend Mickey King here, lifelong aviator. He flies corporate jets, and I think we both felt similarly. We had a same sense of humor, and we thought the Air Force was pretty funny. So we laughed a lot about everything, pretty much. And I think as we get back together after a long time, I think we'll feel the same way. Then we went to NAV school, and then you get an airplane. And Mickey was smarter than me and a better student, so he got an F-4, he got a fighter. And I got what everybody else got, which was a B-52 or a KC-135, because the Cold War was raging, and it was the second term of President Reagan, and it was all about deterrence. And so we got, I got stationed at Fairchild. Some great Fairchild friends are here. My roommate for a period of time, Craig Voss, Anna Ruiz, Bill Reynolds, basically is like a brother, and his family is like another family. I think there are more Fairchild people here. Yes, especially I want to say thank you for traveling from Michigan. My squadron commander at the time, Jerry Schmidt, a finer, nicer guy you'll never meet, and actually had an extremely positive, actually showed me what a positive relationship was between a superior and a subordinate, what it was supposed to be like, how you take care of your people. And he honestly doesn't look a day older than what I remember when I saw him. I couldn't believe it, and he retired 21 years ago. Still going strong, and sir, thank you very much for being here. You honor me for that effort. And to others who I might not have mentioned and I'll miss today, thank you for everything. At Fairchild, the mission was nuclear combat toe-to-toe with the Ruskies, and it's somewhat overlooked. We did win the Cold War, and it's because of guys like that we did. And I just brought along two little artifacts that I happened to find while I was looking through for pictures and everything. And this is basically what ran our lives. It's a pager. I don't know if anybody remembers that. And yet you got paged, you jumped into your piece of crap Chevy pickup truck, you hit the siren, and you raced to the alert facility. And you jumped in the airplane and you decoded the message, and you were getting ready to scramble, launch, flush the bombers, etc. And one quick story. Bill, where you at, Bill? Bill, where's Bill? Bill, okay, Bill. So Bill's my radar, and the way it works is the radar is the boss, and the navigator is the slave. So you always pay the price, you know, that's a relationship that continues today, and not between us, but in the airplane. So once in a while it was good to get back at your radar. So even though Bill was faster than me in a foot race, I got to the plane first. So the klaxon goes off, and we all scramble. I get to the plane first, and radios start crackling to life, and the engines spool up. You hit the cartridges like big shotgun shells, and the smoke's flying around, and everybody runs on the plane. So since I got there first, you have a code book, and I backed in the absolute total nuclear war message and wrote it down on the decode sheet. So when Bill got on the airplane, I told him, and I told him this story a couple months ago. I think he's still pissed, but so he runs on the airplane. I slide the sheet over to him and let him decode it, and it decodes to, you know, the balloon goes up, message, we're going to war. So he looks up at me, and I can't keep a straight face. And I'm cracking up, and he gets it. And like I said, it was the only time in our 30-plus years we've known each other that I was sure I was minutes from death. And Bill and his family have been awesome to us ever since, despite that. But the hard part is, but this is okay. Okay, I can talk about this. Talking about, it's really amazing when we look back at how hard it was to be good at that mission. I think you can argue that there was one command in the history of the United States that knew what its mission was, and it was SAC. I'm not getting sentimental over SAC. Yeah, that would be crying. That would qualify Shaq to give me money. No, but it was a tough mission, and you had to fly low and to evade the enemy radar. No, we lost a lot of guys. Still good. I'm still good. I think I counted at one point. I won't recite the number, but it was dozens of guys in the period of time that we were there that lost their lives in training for that very difficult mission. And we lost a few other. I really can't talk about it. But close friends, and they were all close friends, and they were comrades. But that was kind of an unacknowledged contribution by many who had that role, and my friends there did it better than anybody. And that experience was something that I always carried with me, but most of you don't know that part of it. The general did a great job of highlighting it. And then one of the individuals there, Lieutenant Colonel Mark McGeehan, amongst others, died in the Fairchild Air Show prep accident. Actually helped me, again, another squadron commander demonstrating to me what you're supposed to do as a superior for your subordinates. He got me a great job at the academy, went to the academy, where I met, I was lucky, I got Squadron 34, the Loose Hogs, and Jason Cooley is here. He's a lieutenant colonel, so my retirement ceremony timing is good because he'll be a colonel, and I don't want one of my cadets having the same rank as me. But what a great bunch of Americans, and what a fun job. It was just so much fun, and they were so great, and they went on. He's now a battle-hardened veteran, and as are they all. And it was just great to participate in their young officer development. The IG stint, I won't get emotional about that. That there was interesting. I learned a lot about the Air Force. But then I went to, it was there that I met Nina. So the most positive thing that occurred to me there. And then we went to here at Langley, thankless job. I got to work for Bill again. And that's not why I was thankless, but it was just, I'm probably exaggerating, but it was in the ACC CAT. And it was like 7 days a week, 15 hours a day, and it was brutal and not a lot of fun, if I remember correctly. So when the time came and I had the opportunity and I jumped at it, I went to Fort Drum and worked for Great American, not the General Longoria version of a Great American, because that usually precedes a critique. He's a great American, but Shaq Beauchene, again, a lifelong friend, another example as a squadron commander of how you take care of your people. Worked hard to get me in front of the boss and apply my talents in whatever way I could. and because of him, then Colonel Longoria put me in many difficult situations just to see how I would do, and actually over and over again. And I look back at some of those times and go, wow, that was really crazy. Speaking of crazy, sorry, I missed one thing, and just for laughs, this is about the SAC mission. I had the pager in one hand. The other one, this is very interesting. This was standard issue for the non-pilot aviators, primarily the nav team. So you got that. This is no kidding. This is a SAC issue item. Hopefully I can do it with one hand. It's an eye patch. And the idea here is, you know, when you're going to go do your mission, there's going to be a bunch of nukes cooking off. So when your eye melts out of your head, you can take this off and still do your bomb run. And that's not a joke. But just shows you how pragmatic SAC was. Let's see, how do we preserve one eyeball? So getting up to Fort Drum, and then the general did a great job of describing why that was so great, working in an organization that had great airmen, and I'm going to try, but I won't get them all. He mentioned Colonel Violet, John Schmidt, Joe Snow, our airmen, Aki, Wren, Wilczynski, Keehan. I can go on, and I guess I am going on and on, but the significance of the 20th ASOS has yet to be appreciated. During that period of time, not only were we the lead for the ground piece of the non-soft piece of the ground combat piece of the initial invasion of Afghanistan, but we also rolled in as augmentees for the invasion of Iraq. So we do Anaconda, and we're coming out, and the boss pulls us aside and lets us know we're gonna go invade Iraq. So we just finished that major operation, and we were not, the 10th Mountain was taking a knee, but our airmen were put right back in the line. And I'm gonna get it wrong, but I think our guys got 5 of them got Silver Stars. I think we had 12 to 14 Bronze Stars with Valor in a unit that had 85 people in it.